am no longer your average American mom, and we are no longer the average American family. We became outliers. And looking back, it was not easy. It was simple, and it was turning everything that we had learned up on its head, and it was unlearning. And we did it in under a year, and it has rippled out into other people in my family.
I don't know.
All right, so longevity.
Yeah.
You know who I think about with longevity?
Nanny.
Nanny walked a lot. She went outside in the morning.
For sure.
First thing in the morning, she went outside. She always made us a hot breakfast. I never remember having cereal at Nanny's. And certainly we had snacks.
But we knew it was poison.
But it wasn't like the worst.
I thought there was a person
And we just didn't eat as much, honestly. So that's what I want you to do. Okay? Every morning, go outside. When you get hungry, what should you prioritize? Getting full?
Food. Some good food.
Yeah. And going outside, getting sun in your eyes, being in nature, being around your friends.
For sure.
Okay.
By the playground.
Grounding. What's grounding?
When you walk with your feet, not your shoes.
What do you mean?
Bare
bare feet, yeah. I did that this morning. I had tuna and butter today. Oh, and I brought you some bacon.
Good.
All right, we'll be back.
Bye.
Bye. Look at this. It's like cinematic mode, Sophie. Look at it. Come here.
Oh. That's awesome.
That longevity life. Also, being exposed to the different temperatures, like cold. That's good. So I've been thinking about a lot about longevity. Oh, you can't eat that way. There are no long-term studies. But how do you know that this is, well, first of all, nobody I have ever known has decided to start a diet based on studies. I don't know anybody like that in real life. I bet you if I went and said, "Hey, I'm going to start a vegan diet," I would be applauded, and it would be nothing. Everybody would be like, "Yeah, that's great. You should do that." And I do think that you should do whatever makes you feel the best. For me, that is eating carnivore diet. It's the only thing that has ever consistently been sustainable for me. And I've tried a lot of different things. So it is sustainable, and I eat this way, and I plan to eat this way for the rest of my life. I have not developed any health issues. It's been almost 2 years, and it's fine. And you know what? Maybe I could eat the rainbow or eat in moderation or do this or do that or tolerate grains and, have a balanced diet. Except I was irreversibly harmed by the medical industrial complex. That has been in place since 15 years before I was even born. And that whole agenda had been set in motion. So, yeah, maybe I could. But instead, I was harmed and irreversibly damaged. Can't be changed. Nothing can undo that damage. But what is very exciting is that we are so resilient as humans. So the resiliency is incredible because I have completely healed all of my health issues in under 2 years. And in fact, really did it in a matter of months. I've been in maintenance for this whole year, really. The whole year of 2024, I've been in maintenance. And most of it was free. Most of the habit changes I did, free. And I started really thinking about, what about my grandmother who had a healthy life for most of her life, died peacefully at her home, was never metabolically unhealthy. She was not on any chronic illness. She had no chronic illness diagnoses. She didn't take any kind of medicine. She didn't go to the doctor a lot. I mean, she wasn't like the she wasn't out there doing, Ironman competitions, but she was very much a healthy person. And I thought, I want to, what did she do? What were the things that she did? And I started thinking about her day to day life. And I started thinking about my in laws. My in laws are in their late 70s and like never, hardly ever go to the doctor. They certainly aren't going every year or every 6 months for checkups and screenings and that type of thing. And they don't take any medicine. And they're in their well, my father in law is going to be 80 in March. And it's incredible. How are they doing that? They live independently and they have a very similar lifestyle to the one that Nanny had. So, what's the key? I started thinking about this like, what do I want in the last stages of my life? This next phase of being, in my late 40s, going into my 50s. And I thought, I want to be able to spend time with my family. I want to be able to walk without, I want to do it without being on medication, and I want to do it without pain. And I want to keep feeling the way I'm feeling now. So I started thinking about it, and this is what I learned. If I have to eat beef, butter, bacon, eggs, salt, and coffee for the rest of my life, I did 13 minutes of video recording last night and I was on or something. I started thinking about this a lot last August. And in August, I had been doing the carnivore diet for about 7 months. Lost, I think, about 20 to 25 pounds, which I was thrilled. And I heard Peter Attia talking to Chris Williamson on a podcast about, well, how long do you want to live? And I'd never thought about that. And what do you want to be able to do when you get to that age? And I started thinking a little bit about Nanny, my grandmother, and like, oh, well, that's interesting. She lived to, almost 89, and he got up around the same time every day, went to bed around the same time, and had a routine. And it didn't vary that much, but she did stay active and she did have community ties. And I thought that's what I want. Started thinking about that. And I was also having some other issues. I was having some inflammation and some weird symptoms, and I couldn't figure it out. And there was all this noise about, trying this and doing cold plunges and doing all of these things. But I saw a simple video with Kelly Hogan and Sarah Kleiner about circadian rhythm and how important that is. And I also realized that my thyroid levels were way off. I was considerably hypothyroid, and I had been for months. And so I got that adjusted. I figured that out on my own, I just by doing research and asking questions. So I started really putting forth an effort of just simple, free habits. Waking up, getting out of bed. I wanted to get out of bed for the first time in my life. And I was always the person that wanted to sleep in from the time I was a child. So I would get up in the morning and I would go outside and I would do that in my bare feet. And, I started just trying it. And slowly but surely, I started losing weight again. And I lost probably another 10 to 15 pounds, 10 pounds by October. And by October, I'd hit, a healthy weight that I wanted to maintain, that I planned, I was totally happy with it. If I had stayed on the course that I was on and just never realizing how sick I was and just being like everybody else, I would be what typically, what people my age and my parents' age are going through. I would have, continued to get on more and more medication. And I changed that. And it wasn't any special way. It was just trying something radically different because I was just really sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I thought, well, I can, I'll try this, and it worked. And I never remember feeling as good as I feel now. And so if that means, only eating 5 things for the rest of your life, things, and it being boring and routine, I'm okay with that. Here's what I don't have to deal with anymore, and that is food obsession and food noise and thinking, when am I going to eat next? And just all of the time and effort that goes. Is this thing on? And all of the time and energy and effort that goes into buying so many ingredients and making recipes and that kind of thing, I don't have any of that anymore. I'm so glad. I have constant thoughts of when am I going to eat next and when am I going to drink next. My life and my routine went 2 years ago when I was 47. That's all I thought about all of the time. I've taken drugs, I've taken thousands of pills because I did it the way that I was taught. The only difference between the drugs that I took and like street drugs is who was giving it to me. It's legality and profitability. I tried all of the ways that the experts told me, and I did what they told me, and I just got worse and sicker and sicker and sicker until a point I was just like desperate, and I felt like I was on my own because I was. What was I going to do? You know, call a doctor? Like, who's I going to call? I just had this reaction to eating food. I remember telling a nurse practitioner about this and saying, this is what I ate, and I had this weird reaction, and they had no clue because, you know, it's not part of the curriculum. It's not part of what they're taught, and what most all doctors are taught is to drug them, cut them, and bill them. And I was in that path. I was on that path, and I did it all the way that I was told. And I, out of sheer desperation, climbed out of that pit, and I figured things out from slowly and surely. I started learning and unlearning, like I talked about before. So here's what I don't deal with anymore. I don't that obsession of around food or substances. I also don't take medication anymore. I healed my metabolic health. Specifically, I reversed prediabetes and I lost 50 pounds. I healed my severe anxiety that I had dealt with for years, for probably since I started having kids, and my oldest child is 18. It was noticeably different when I realized it. That was noticeably different after 2 months. And that's incredible because it was affecting my day-to-day life. I wouldn't go certain places. I wouldn't do certain experiences. I wouldn't spend time outside of my house. I just did not want to go out. And if I did go out, it was to go eat. My sleep drastically improved, and my hormones. So I was, I'm always going to have some type of hormone dysregulation because of my chronic illness with my thyroid illness. I will always have to replace and kind of tweak my dose. It is what it is because of my background. But my sleep has gotten so much better. I go to bed, I read, and I go to sleep. I last about 10 minutes. So it takes me forever to read a book now on my Kindle. And so I fall asleep and I am out. And if I start having sleep disturbances, I know what to do now. I know, oh, okay, I wonder if I have things that I can ask myself, questions I can ask myself. Is it, linked to, is it like a menopause thing, or is it a thyroid thing? And that can be hard to tease out because they are so interrelated. But now I have the tools to figure it out for myself. So I have so much more mental space to enjoy my interests, and to, it's incredible. I get to plan, and the world is my oyster. So I'm very excited about that. I wake up excited for the day, and I never ever remember a time that I felt that way. Honestly, that sounds sad, but I just don't remember a time that I was truly excited to get up and go out and seize the day. So those are the things that I have gained, and that it's substantial and profound. And if that's what it means, I will happily do that for the rest of my life. So that's the plan. All right, here's dinner from last night. Quick second to put together dinner, which is going to be mini meatloaves, and I will cook them in the air fryer. All right, we've got 2 pounds of ground beef, 3 eggs, and a cup of pork panko. I'm going to mix that together, and then after I mix that together, I'm going to salt it with probably 2 teaspoons. I don't know. I'll just eyeball it. And then I'm going to make 8 mini loaves. I'll show you that. All right, there's the finished product. I'm going to freeze them just for a little while. And then when we get hungry in a couple hours, I'll take them out. I'll leave the other ones in there. So, mini meatloaves. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.